This video describes the causes of IBS, which organs are affected, and how Chinese acupuncture successfully treats this.
What is meant by IBS? Today's approach to healthcare uses the term syndrome to mean any collection of symptoms that it does not understand. Patients suffered a range of digestive symptoms, including loose stools, feeling bloated after eating, and having a tender abdomen. But today's mainstream healthcare had no idea what caused this, so it coined the term irritable bowel syndrome, meaning a digestive condition that it cannot explain.
And because their system cannot understand this, medics often proclaim, "No one knows what this is. It cannot be understood." Yet the condition has been clearly understood and successfully treated for over 2,000 years. Perhaps all that valuable knowledge is in one of the many blind spots in today's approach to healthcare.
In contrast, the ancient Chinese had a simple approach to medicine. They noticed that when an organ was functioning poorly, this produced a whole range of possible symptoms, and that when that organ's function was returned to normal with acupuncture, all those symptoms cleared.
Why is such a powerful healing mechanism unknown by today's approach to healthcare?
Today's medicine is governed by the pharmaceutical industry. Their approach is to try to understand the body at the microscopic level, including the chemical interactions that take place between the organs and the structures of the body. And their remedies are limited to trying to directly manipulate this chemistry.
They fell into using this approach as an accident of how the pharmaceutical industry gradually formed. But now, the whole of today's mainstream healthcare is locked into using this approach. But the problem is that the understanding is limited, which explains why drug remedies usually produce a whole range of ill effects that the designers of the drugs did not predict and cannot understand. This alone demonstrates that the models used to explain how the chemistry of the organs work are incomplete.
However, the industry uses statistical arguments which seem to have convinced people, including most medics, that this situation is perfectly normal and acceptable. Yet the notion of so-called side effects is peculiar to pharmaceutical remedies and does not exist in normal healing.
But because mainstream healthcare today is controlled by the pharmaceutical industry, they have left themselves no other choice. You might say that the eradication of real healing from within today's mainstream healthcare was an inevitable consequence of their obsession with attempting to manipulate the body's chemistry. In ancient China, there was no such obsession. The knowledge of the microscopic anatomy of the body and of its chemistry did not yet exist, which was a great advantage. They, by necessity, used a much simpler approach.
They discovered that each organ resonated with various locations around the body, and that stimulating one of those locations persuaded the related organ to return to normal function, and by doing this, the organ itself made any necessary adjustments to its own chemistry. And because the organ was now functioning normally, all the previous symptoms cleared.
So, with so-called IBS, which organ is affected and what symptoms might there be?
The ancient Chinese physicians noticed that when the pancreas function was poor, the patient often felt bloated or tired after eating, had loose or even watery stools, low energy, a poor sense of taste, a low appetite, sweet cravings, intolerances to certain foods such as dairy or wheat, and the muscles of their limbs were weak or soft, and they bruised easily. If you have a few of these symptoms, you are likely to have poor pancreas function.
Ah, I see, so IBS should be called poor pancreas function. But how is this treated? In an acupuncture clinic, the diagnosis would then be confirmed by the practitioner taking your pulses and examining your tongue. In Chinese medicine, the practitioner can tell the strength of each organ's function and even the type of malfunction by feeling your pulse. They also use tongue diagnosis, which is also remarkably accurate. Patients with poor pancreas function always have a swollen tongue, usually with teeth marks on the side. And in my experience, such patients are always constantly thinking or worrying and have some of the symptoms mentioned before. These consistent factors support the connection between overthinking and the pancreas function, which I will talk about in a moment.
Common acupoints used to treat poor pancreas function include stomach 36 below your knee, bladder 20 on your back, and pancreas 6 on the inside of your lower leg. There is a resonance between all these acupoints and the pancreas, and when the points are stimulated, this persuades the pancreas to return to normal function. The response to acupuncture treatment is usually good. Most of my patients experience an improvement in some of their symptoms after the first treatment, and are often symptom-free after a few weekly treatments.
What's the commonest cause of poor pancreas function? The ancient Chinese discovered that a person's thoughts and emotions are produced by our abdominal organs, which he will explain fully in another video. But as one example, the pancreas is the main digestive organ. And from many observations in Chinese medicine, it is clear that our mind uses this pancreas function to digest our thoughts. This produces a two-way link between our mind's digestive activity and our pancreas function. When we spend most of a day trying to digest facts, this overuses the function of our physical pancreas, which becomes exhausted and produces in us the digestive symptoms mentioned before. What can I do to avoid this problem developing?
Since the problem is mainly caused by overthinking, routinely doing any physical activities that do not involve thinking would be beneficial. Giving your overworked head a rest would also give your digestion and guts a rest.
Your digestion peaks at 11 AM and is at its weakest at 11 PM. But due to the way society is organised today, most people eat their main meal in the evening, when their digestion is near to its weakest. And because our mind relies on our pancreas function to be able to digest information, this mental ability also follows this same pattern. It is at its strongest in the morning till around 11 or 12 AM.
This can be seen most clearly in people who already have poor pancreas function. They usually find they can only think clearly in the morning, and this ability quickly diminishes after midday.
If our mind worked independently of our abdominal organs, this pattern would not exist. Our mind would not get tired when our pancreas function was weak, and would not vary throughout the day, exactly synchronized with the strength of our pancreas function. There is no doubt about this link between overthinking and poor pancreas function.
When I say thinking, I'm only referring to our ability to digest information. Other types of thinking rely on different abdominal organs. For example, creative thinking is performed by our liver, whose function peaks at 1 AM. This is why our best creative thinking is often done while we sleep, hence the phrase "sleep on it." How often have you woken to find that the answer to a problem is clear in your mind? This solution was produced by your liver while you slept. But I will cover this topic in more detail in another video.
Is there anything else I can do to help avoid poor pancreas function? The most important changes are to lifestyle. You could moderate your thinking and keep any digestive thinking to the morning only. Eat your main meal in the middle of the day and only have a light snack in the evening. And also introduce more physical activity into your day, such as taking a walk outdoors after eating your main meal, which will also help with its digestion.
Apart from these changes, there is also an acupressure point that you can massage on yourself. Probably the easiest acupoint for you to use is stomach 36. It is located below your knee on the outside of your leg, about an inch away from your shin bone and about 3 inches below a dip at the base of your knee. When you press this point, if it feels tender, this means your stomach and pancreas function are weak, and massaging this point will help. If you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate a like.
As usual, that's all fascinating. How can I find out more?
If you'd like to see more videos like this one, you could subscribe so that you'll be notified when new videos are published. In other videos, I will be covering all the common ailments, which organs they relate to, how the problems develop, and adjustments in lifestyle and thought patterns that can avoid the problems developing in the first place. But in the meantime, if you'd like to read more, I've placed links in the text below to 2 of my books, which provide greater detail on the topics covered in this video. The first book is called Acupuncture Explained, This is intended for the general reader and gives an overview of the whole subject in plain language. The second book is called Acupuncture Today and in Ancient China. This is a major textbook that covers the subject in much greater detail. You can download several sample chapters free of charge by following the book's link in the text below. And there are also notes below that will be of interest to acupuncture students or practitioners.